Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What is The Briefing Room? It's a behind-the-scenes look at how the criminal justice system works and the lives of the people within that system. If you love true crime, well, these are the real people who do the job every day of making sure justice is served. Hi, I'm Detective Dave. I'm Detective Dan. Together, we have decades of experience in local law enforcement, a profession that we think is often misunderstood. So we're going to explore how to do it right, and we won't shy away from when it's done wrong. These are stories you'll hear nowhere else. Unique, frank, and unvarnished. From the team that brought you Small Town Dicks, this is The Briefing Room. Episode 1 drops on August 30th. We'll meet you in the briefing room.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
And welcome back to Scarred for Life, the podcast where we open up old wounds by looking back at the films that scared us as kids. I'm Terry.
And I'm Mary Beth.
And each episode, our special guest brings with them a movie that traumatized them as a child.
This week, our guest is Cory. She is a writer whose work has appeared in places such as Fangoria and Shudder's new newsletter, The Bite. And she also has a podcast coming out soon as part of Anatomy of a Scream called The Scream Teens, which is so exciting. And she's also a filmmaker. We are so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's so cool that you're like a young horror person that's like speaking out for why teens matter in the genre world, because goddamn, it's important. So it's just cool.
Thank you.
So admirable and awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah, we're really excited to get your perspective on these movies, because I'll tell you, the movie you chose is wild to me. So, I mean, there's a little tease for the audience. I think this is why I love talking to people of different ages, because you get this kind of different perspective. So,
and Terry and I have two very different perspectives on this movie. So,
we sure do.
But before we start talking about that, Cory, how did you get into horror?
I've loved horror ever since I was like really little. I think it started because my mom like went all out with Halloween decorating and was like really crazy about it.
Was she like the cool person on the street that had like every single thing and like everyone wanted to go to the house? Oh my God, yes.
Totally. She always made sure to like force me to watch the Munsters and the Addams Family and Scooby-Doo as a kid, so I sort of grew up watching a lot of like horror TV shows.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've always just really liked horror stories in general.
Cool.
So what are some of your favorite horror movies or series that you watched growing up?
I would definitely say Courage the Cowardly Dog. That like scarred me for life.
Courage, okay.
My God, Courage the Cowardly Dog, I think, is why I am the way I am today.
Same. It's so odd and weird, but perfect, and I love it. What an insane show.
I quote it often, which is funny. Like sometimes I'll just go, "Return the slab," which is the scariest episode to me, when they find the slab and like the mummy is haunting them.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Terry, you've watched it, you said, right?
I actually really liked Courage the Cowardly Dog. I did watch that a bunch. I never had cable until I was like on my own as an adult.
Really?
So like,
wow.
Yeah. So like, I remember watching a lot of Courage as a cartoon as an adult and thinking, wow, this is actually really good. So I did. Good. That was a favorite.
Oh my God, I love him.
Yeah, me too.
So much. Anyway, sorry. I was like, Courage the Cowardly Dog.
No, I love that show. I can talk about that show for hours. It's so good. Yeah, it's amazing. Anything on Cartoon Network was so good.
Oh my God, yes.
That and like Scooby-Doo. I've seen like every rendition of Scooby-Doo, every episode. I love Scooby-Doo so much.
Who's your favorite villain from Scooby-Doo?
Oh God, there are so many. I think you can't make me choose just one. Oh God, I think the glowing space coops are probably my favorite. Those are really fun.
Hell yeah. Cool. And do you like Scooby-Doo, Jesus, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island?
Oh my god, I am obsessed with Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island.
I figured you were, but like...
But I have to say, Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost is better, and the Hex Girls are, like, one of the reasons I am the way I am. I love the Hex Girls.
I mean, I also.
Yeah, I know Trace really loves Zombie Island. I have never seen it.
You have to see it. It's so good.
Yeah. I think it's on
really
Netflix.
Fun.
It's on Netflix. Yeah,
it's not what you won't be expecting it. I don't think there's some odd, interesting things in there.
Yeah, I mean, I know Trace talks about it all the time, and I just I was just at that age where I missed that because I love Scooby Doo as well. I grew up on the original renditions of it, and that's the thing that I do love is the fact that it seems like certain properties, and we'll get into this with the movie we're talking about, continue throughout the generations, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then there have been so many new ones. There's one called Mystery Inc.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that one was pretty good too. I watched that as a kid, and like Gravity Falls and Goosebumps. Definitely,
I love Gravity Falls.
Gravity Falls is so good.
Ugh, I love cartoons.
Me too.
Cartoons are good.
I love cartoons.
Do you remember what your first horror movie was?
I think it was this. That I can remember.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Cool. Interesting. Okay. That'll be interesting to talk about. It's an interesting like pathway into horror.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
Well, and it's interesting because I feel like Terry and I were talking about this, that a lot of the guests we talk to are like older, not old, but old, like in their like 20s and 30s, and they watch like straight up scary movies. But it's interesting because I think like because you're 18 now.
I'm 17, but almost
You're 17.
18. Yeah.
I'm sort of close in age to you. I'm 27, but I feel like there was a generation where like it wasn't just scary horror movies. There were more kids-oriented horror movies that were on like Disney Channel and Cartoon Network that were like not. I feel dumbed down's like the wrong way to put it, but like we're more meant for kids.
They're definitely I always wonder how people were able to like see those movies like Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff because my parents would not let me watch anything scary. And I couldn't go to movie theaters by myself, obviously, as a kid, so... Well,
I was a child of divorce. And one parent... This is so funny, because I was thinking about it watching this movie. I was like, I realized that, like, I never watched scary movies at my mom's house, and I live with my mom primarily. So I would watch, like, Halloween Town and stuff like that on Disney. But with my dad, it was an all-out, like, I don't care how fucking old you are, watching The Exorcist or watching, like, Blair Witch. So it was... two like very different households, but yeah, that's how I did it. But I know Terry has a different.
It's one of those things where it's like originally my parents introduced me to the like A Nightmare on Elm Street and introduced me to like Alien, and then there was a time when all of a sudden I don't know if it was the emerging like really conservative pull in the late 80s, early 90s, but like all of a sudden I wasn't allowed to see those movies anymore.
Oh, interesting.
So it was weird. So for me, I kind of retreated into reading a lot of books because that was one thing that was never supervised.
Oh, wow. That's smart. For me, it was like, I could only get away with like watching Courage the Cowardly Dog and saying, oh, it's on Cartoon Network, Mom, it's fine.
That's literally what I with my mom. But my mom was like, you're on thin ice with Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Yeah. Mine too. And my parents like aren't big horror fans or anything, so they never thought to show me those movies, I guess. I had to like stumble across everything by myself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're technically not an adult yet, but so like what draws you to horror now as like you've grown up and you've started watching these like, horror movies geared towards kids and like those classic cartoons? What draws you to horror now as you've kind of grown up with the genre?
Definitely the like social messages. That's like I think the coolest part of all art, but I think horror does such an amazing job at it. And I'm also really obsessed with like good villains. And obviously horror is the best for that.
What are some good villains that you've seen recently?
Daniel from Daniel Isn't Real. I am so obsessed with this movie, and I have not gotten to talk about it yet, but it is like definitely my favorite of 2019. I thought Daniel was so perfect.
He really was. He was so good.
Obviously the classic like Hannibal Lecter, the Joker, those kind of Jason, Michael.
Okay, so here's a question. Jason or Freddy?
I go back and forth on this. I think I'll have to say Jason, but Michael is my favorite of all time.
Okay.
Okay. I only say Freddy versus Jason just because, like, we always laugh. Because, like, Carrie and I are very staunch Freddy Krueger people.
Yes,
so
we
always
are.
like,
Yeah.
Mike, okay, I respect Michael.
I feel like he's the king of all slashers. I don't know why.
Well, I mean,
feel
he
like-
kind of did sort of establish the American
Yeah.
trend of it in a
Yeah,
way.
that's true.
I don't know. I just always think of him as being like at the top of the pyramid or something.
Yeah. So, do horror movies still scare you?
I will say Host really scared me and Beach House, but besides that, not recently.
Okay.
They did
Okay.
when I was little,
Cool.
definitely. But it's sort of
Okay.
it depends on the subject matter, I guess.
Dude, both those
Yeah.
movies scared me. So
Yeah.
They were
Host scared
so
the
scary.
absolute shit out of me.
Host?
Oh my god.
Oh my god. I could not sleep for days after watching that movie. Invisible Man scared me too. I thought the camera work on that was insane.
Oh, yeah.
So cool.
Lee Winnell, he's so good.
There were
Yeah.
some really scary movies this year.
Yeah. I loved it though. I was so happy.
Oh, yes. I love it too. It's always so, like, we talk about this all the time, but it's like, after you've watched so many horror movies, it's hard to get scared.
You get
like, you still enjoy it.
desensitized. You totally
Yeah,
do.
exactly. Like, you absolutely love the
Mhm.
movies, but you're like, I'm not scared. And then when you
Yeah.
feel that fear, like when you're scared to turn off the light, you're like,
Mhm.
oh shit, this is a real one. Like, I'm scared to walk into a dark room.
Yeah. It's so weird because, like, I forced my mom to watch Scream this year, and she was so scared, and she was, like, scared to turn off the lights and stuff, and I was like, I think this is the most mild movie ever, so what does that say about me?
It is pretty much, well, because it is, like, I mean, it's funny.
It's so funny.
so
and she was like,
meta.
how are you laughing at this? And I was like, it's hilarious.
Oh.
It's so
You're
funny.
like, oh, mom. Oh, mom. So, what are your favorite horror movies now?
Oh my god.
Or what are some of your favorite horror movies now?
Scream is, I think, my all-time favorite. Daniel
Okay.
Isn't Real, The Shining, Starry Eyes. I don't know if you guys have seen that,
Oh.
but it's so good.
I've seen.
I
Have you seen
love
Starry Eyes, Jerry?
I have not. It's a blind spot, a recent blind spot that I need to rectify because I did like. Yeah, because it's the people that did the new Pet Cemetery,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And they're so
Mhm.
cool. They came into my horror class. I took a horror production course and they like talked to us and they were
No,
so
wait.
interesting.
Horror production course? Where did you go to
Yes.
school?
Well, it was a USC like summer course and
wow.
Dr. Rebecca
Oh.
McKendry teaches it, who she's
I
the
love
coolest
her.
woman on earth.
You took her
Yes!
class?
I literally feel so lucky
Oh,
because she's
shit.
just learning horror from her is like incredible.
I mean, that's
she's so
perfect.
cool. Yeah.
That's
She literally knows
incredible.
everything.
I
That's
do. I
so
love her
cool.
so much. I got to
She's
meet her
so
finally
sweet.
this year at Panic Fest, her and Elric.
Mhm.
And it was so cool. Like it was so funny because I heard that she was coming, and we went to go see Sea Fever,
Yeah.
and which is a aquatic
Yeah.
horror, which is like her
Which is her
jam.
thing.
Right. And then all of a sudden I see her come in, and I'm with like two friends that are they like horror movies, but they're not really in the horror
Mm-hmm.
scene. And I'm like, oh my God, that's Rebecca McKendry. It was like a legit, and they're like, who? And I'm like, oh my God, there's Elric Kane.
Yeah,
And then like Adam Green comes in, and I'm like, oh, and there's Adam Green. But I'm like, which is a legit filmmaker, but like, which I love. Don't get me wrong, I love him, but it was like you first walk in with Elric and Rebecca, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so starstruck.
Yeah. Oh my god. She's literally just, oh my god, she's so amazing. And she's
She
so
really is.
smart. Like, I don't know another
Oh my
person
God.
that knows so much about horror.
It's amazing to hear her, like, talk.
She can literally talk for hours on, like, one subject. It's so cool.
Yeah,
I want to take
love
one
her.
of her classes so bad.
Do
I
it.
want to pick her brain about being a horror academic because I love, like, I'm a horror academic, but I'm scared to get my PhD. So I'm always, like,
Oh, no.
curious to chat with her.
You should. She does it, like, every summer, I think. But she had to work pretty hard to get it, like, established. The class itself,
Yeah.
so.
Oh, yeah, that's not surprising. So pivoting back to you. So you started a blog, right?
Yes.
To write about horror.
Mhm.
What prompted you to start this blog? Like, what was the impetus for it?
Well, actually, Dr. McKendry, like, when I took her class, was saying, like, you can't wait for anyone to, give you permission to make something. You have to just make something on your own. And all of my friends and family got really tired of me talking about horror movies so much. So I figured I would just start a blog. And I didn't think anyone would read it at all, but
I'm glad that you had someone to tell you that because, like, again, I didn't start my blog until like my site until like 2 years ago.
Really?
And it's just one of those things where it's like you don't really think about doing it, and you like talk about it maybe, and so I'm glad that you had that kind of like that push from her.
Yeah,
whether
it was
she knows
really
it or
helpful.
not.
That's
That's
so
awesome.
amazing to have a mentor and like that, and like to really
Oh my
push
god,
you to do that.
she's the coolest. Yeah, if you guys get a chance to take her class, it's like the greatest.
I can only imagine.
So I know that you're you want to be a filmmaker. You're a
Yeah.
filmmaker. So what kind of movies do you want to make? Like do you have like a subgenre that you're focused on?
I really love horror comedy, so that's definitely all of and I really love slashers, and I really want to make some more modern slashers.
We
Sweet.
need some more modern slashers,
Yes.
please and thank
Like
you.
Freaky.
We do.
And I was happy to see it get a lot of love this year because
Yeah.
I miss them. I
Me
miss them a
too.
lot.
We were talking about this recently, Terry and I, about how because we watched Wrong Turn. Have you seen Wrong Turn,
I
Corey?
haven't. It's on my list.
Okay. I mean, it's fine. But we were talking about how slashers, it was on the tail end of the early 2000s slashers. And now there isn't really a lot of them.
Yeah.
That, modern day. I think there's probably a rise coming with Freaky, but still, it is very interesting that slashers aren't really.
Yeah, it bothers me. I really miss them. There was the elevated horror, the elevated horror push to make more like that. I like those movies, but I need a good slasher. They're so nice to distress with. And
Look, sometimes I just want to see a gory fucking movie that
oh
is
my god, I just want to see more gory
formulaic
movies.
and fun. I
Yeah.
love some really good deaths with
Yes.
a pretty crazy monster and some teenagers running away or college students.
Exactly. I just want to see more teens getting murdered. Is that so much to ask?
It's I think we've had a really good run over the last few years of horror with messages, the slow burn horror, that kind of stuff, that what people call elevated. But I'm ready to have some fun.
Exactly. And I think you can still have fun with messages, but
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So you also have this podcast that you're working
Yeah.
on, Scream Teens. What? Tell us what this is about.
That's a podcast that my friend Lena, who is a 17-year-old from France, and I are doing for the Anatomy
wow.
of a Scream podcast. Yeah, it's really cool. We both talk about different horror monsters and things and their histories, and then sort of our teen perspectives on them and how we were introduced to them. So things like witches and werewolves and that kind of thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
And that's with Anatomy of a Scream.
Mm-hmm.
I love that their initiative that they started last
Oh,
year,
it's
where
so cool.
trying to get more people, because I do think there is an entry point where people are a little afraid of stepping their toes into it. I mean, I know we were. So it's I think that it's kind of great that there is that kind of platform. I think
They've
that's
been
awesome.
really cool, and they have helped us every step of the way because neither of us had any idea what we were doing.
Right.
So they've been really helpful.
That's
it's
awesome.
daunting. Podcasting is
It's scary.
daunting to start
yeah.
out. It's definitely scary, especially when you're how do I edit audio?
Exactly.
How does that work?
Thank God I knew how to edit film audio because it's sort of similar.
That's
there you go.
definitely very helpful.
Yeah.
When does the first episode drop?
It drops sometime in January. We don't have a set date yet, but we'll see.
Cool. Awesome.
Cool.
Okay, so now to our movie.
Mhm.
Yes.
Corey, what movie are we talking about today?
Okay, we're talking about R.L. Stine's The Haunting Hour, Don't Think About It, from 2007.
Honey, I know it's awkward to be dropped into a new school, especially after the semester has started, but look, listen. Just give it some time. It'll get better.
Check out the freak.
From the creator of Goosebumps comes a new adventure.
It's a powerful feeling to watch others cringe in fear.
The evil thing. Sounds scary.
The evil thing is yours.
Give me that story. The evil thing is a gruesome beast.
It's a two-headed thing whom you don't wish to greet. But don't worry, please don't have a fit. The evil thing is not real unless you think about it.
Don't think about it.
find your brother.
The Haunting Hour.
It's fun to scare people, isn't it?
The longest title ever.
Yes.
So here's the summary. It's very basic. A girl and her brother have spooky encounters when one of them reads the lines of a mysterious book given to them by Tobin Bell.
Yes, and his fabulous wig.
Oh god, the wigs in this movie are so rough.
They're so rough. They're so good.
Yeah.
So, okay, this is before we jump into your experience, Cory, this is like a direct to DVD movie made in 2007, and then and a couple days later it's out on Cartoon Network. So it's very much one of those like made for kids, made for TV horror movies that kind of act as a bridge between straight up horror and like kids stuff.
Yes, definitely.
It's definitely like Halloween Town-esque, but scarier. Okay, so Cory, tell us the horror story of when you saw this. How old were you? How did you watch it? What were like the after effects of it? Paint us a picture.
Okay, so this is like definitely one of the earliest horror movies I remember watching. I think I was probably 4 or 5 when I watched it, so I was like really little. Yeah.
Wow.
And I just like happened to see it on Cartoon Network, and then ever since I became so obsessed with it that I like rented it every single day at Blockbuster. Like every time my renting was up, I would rent it again so that no one else could rent it. But no one else wanted to watch it, so it was a good deal.
So you caught this on Cartoon Network. Was it just, did you seek it out, or was it just like on?
No, it just happened by chance. And I was like really obsessed with being goth as a kid because I watched Scooby-Doo, Witch's Ghost, and saw the Hex Girls, and like I watched Avril Lavigne's Girlfriend video, and I wanted to be that. So,
oh, Cory, this is beautiful.
Oh God,
I was similar.
So this movie has like a goth Emily Osmond at like, I think she's 13 in this, and that's all I wanted. I wanted to be goth Emily Osmond so badly.
So you saw this at the age of 4. So like, what you watched it? Like, how did your fear kind of manifest? Like, what scene scared you the most? And like, were you terrified afterward? Like, what was that like after watching it?
I think there's a scene under the bed that really scared me.
Always under the bed.
Because you don't see the monster, but he like goes on top of the bed and like rips one of the kids' stuffed animals' heads off.
Oh my God, when he ripped the head off of the thing.
Yes.
I was cackling. I was like, that is violent, but also I thought it was so funny.
Yeah. And the ending, sort of the first time you see like the huge monster when they go down into the sewers, really scared me, because I was like super scared of anything that looked remotely similar to E.T. E.T. scared me so badly as a kid. And I just hated that monster so much. But I kept watching this movie over and over again and just kept getting more and more scared. I don't know.
It's like you building up an immunity to it.
I guess so. It didn't work, though.
Like, were you, like, scared of the dark? Were you scared of your, like, going to, like, turning the lights off? Like, is that how your fear kind of manifested?
I was scared of everything as a kid.
Really?
Yes, everything. Literally everything. I was really scared of getting kidnapped for some reason and, like, strangers.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, no.
And I think I was also just scared of the fact that, like, could not stop thinking about the monster, and I was like, the more I think about it, the more real it's going to become, and if I think about it...
Oh, yeah. I have to say that was kind of a smart little addition to the story about, like, just if you think about it, it's going to make it real, because as soon as you tell someone that, obviously they're going to start thinking about it.
Exactly.
And so I did think that was kind of a smart little thing for kids, because like kids will freak out about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the message of this was like, don't think about ghosts in your closet or whatever, and then they won't be there. But all I could do was think more and more about it. So
well, exactly. And so the monster in this is pretty cool. It's pretty fucking creepy, actually.
Yeah.
It's got like, it's got one head full of gross teeth, and it looks like the thing. Apart from the thing, its
really
head splits
does.
in two.
Mhm.
So Greg Nicotero was one of the people who did the creature effects in this movie, which
And they
is
look
so cool.
good.
It's
I was really
really
surprised
good.
about that.
Yeah,
I'll be honest. This is obviously my first time watching this movie. This isn't a yarn that I grew up watching. But I will say that, like, to be fair, when I first started watching this, it was like about halfway through, and there was no creature yet, and I was like,
it takes a really long time.
I was like, what about this was scary? This was my initial thought, because I was so bored. I'm going to admit it. I was so bored. And then when the creature finally shows up at around the midpoint is when I was like, oh, that creature's kind of neat. And I know that they probably had to work with like a low budget, but I like the fact that you don't see it very often. You only get like a whiff of it. And I think for a kid, that kind of thing is like...
that made it so much scarier.
Right, because you can fill in, especially if you have an overactive imagination, which I would have as a kid. I don't know if that's even...
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
That you fill in those blanks and it becomes something even worse than what they could potentially put on screen.
Definitely.
Yeah. It's funny, Terry, because I was watching this and I was like, oh, there is absolutely no fucking way that Terry vibes with this. I could have vibed with this at all. Because like this is it's such an early 2000s young adult horror movie. And that's the shit that I love to watch, because that was what I could watch at my mom's house. So I would like pop on Disney Channel, I'd pop on Cartoon Network, and these were the movies I could watch. And I've never seen this one, but like Emily Osment's character, if I had seen this, I would have been obsessed with her as a child.
Oh my God, I was so obsessed with her.
I wanted to be that cool goth girl. Like I wanted to have like the gumption to wear black lipstick to school and black eyeshadow. Like there is no way in hell I would ever have done that. But she just did it. And like she read I always read horror books at school, and like she had the room I always wanted. So it was so funny because as I was watching this, I felt myself transported back to when this would have come out, and I would have like been absolutely enamored with this movie. It's got all of the...
Sorry, go ahead.
I say it has all the tropes of all those movies I used to watch, like the mean bully, and she comes to the new school and the bully is terrible and there's a cute boy, and it's just like so goofy, but there is something like nostalgic about it that I was very into.
Yeah. And also,
sorry, Terry.
Can we talk about the cockroaches in the pinata?
Yes, we must talk about this, because like, first of all, like there are like two major well, the second one isn't really majors, we'll get to, but like there are two pranks in this with her and Priscilla, and that one is actually kind of mean.
Yeah, it's really
mean. I thought that was really mean.
Also,
like,
she ordered cockroaches online. Does she have a debit card?
Probably.
Who gave her a debit card?
Yeah. So like the whole premise, for those who haven't watched it, is that there is a Halloween ball, which I love that there's a Halloween ball at this town. Oh my God. Like I would have loved to have had that growing up as a kid. But the mean girl is Priscilla, and she gets crowned the Pumpkin Queen. And it's like a moment that's like out of Carrie. Instead of like blood being dumped on her, she is hitting a piñata for some reason, and cockroaches come falling out of it, and then she falls and does a pratfall into the cake. And I gotta know what you guys thought of this.
I think it's so epic.
Yeah.
I felt bad. I was like, oh, because I thought they were gonna be like crickets or something. It was fucking giant cockroaches. That's fucked up.
I thought that was sort of like a don't mess with me type of thing, because like I will get you much worse. Yeah.
And I kind of loved it in a way, because I feel like in a lot of those movies, like the girl who's bullied doesn't really get like her revenge so early in the movie, you know what I mean? Like they're not usually like they're a little bit like meek. And this girl's like, I'm not fucking around. I'm gonna order cockroaches on the fucking internet and dump them into this pumpkin piñata.
And she's like not scared to do that at all. She just goes ahead and does it. God.
And like smiles.
Yeah.
Like she's devious.
That's the one thing I actually really liked her character, because in a twist, she is not, as you're talking about, she is not meek. She sees her crush and she stares at him. You know, when he looks, of course, you know, there's that uncomfortableness and she looks away, but she makes it known that she likes him. And she's like, I like this person. She's not afraid of talking about it. She's not afraid of not dressing differently. It's not a story about her conforming or like a need to conform. You know, and sometimes in these stories where you have like the other person, which of course is this, you know, the gothness and her being different. You have like that kind of need to like try to conform, and then by the end of it, everyone is friends, but you know, and can understand and appreciate each other's differences. But no, she's not going to conform. This is who she is. And I thought that was actually, she's actually a pretty strong female character. And I actually really like that. Even though she was a little mean.
She was
just
mean,
kind of a dick,
like,
but also like I was a dick at 13.
Yeah, we all were.
Yeah.
What I really like about it too is like we always see female characters that are just so like boring or meek and don't really have much personality to them. And she was so sassy, and she was like a 13-year-old walking into some weird random shop with Tobin Bell, and like she was not scared of anything, and I loved that about her.
But that was definitely giving me stranger danger.
Yeah.
I got $5 for this weird ass flesh bound book. Can I have it? Also, you're a creepy ass man, but all right, I'll buy your book.
Exactly. Like she wasn't scared of anything.
Also, like okay. There's like a very small detail here. When she comes out of the Halloween shop, she is wearing like red fishnet hand covers. I wanted so badly to be cool enough to wear those in public.
Me too.
And I was just like, I was watching this and I was like, Jesus Christ, this is really pushing me back to when I was like a preteen watching this
like, this
movie.
is everything I wanted.
Jesus. Like, if I had seen this movie when I was in middle school, I would have like watched it every single day.
I literally
so
did watch
funny.
it every day. It's so sad, but
Oh my God.
You know, I will say that I'm really tired of movies having a surprise tarantula moment. I could really do without the surprise tarantula moment, because I was like, oh, it's there. I know that. What is that? And then all of a sudden it jumps, and I'm like, no, fuck this. This movie is officially the scariest movie I've seen in like since Something Wicked This Way Comes. I don't like it. I don't like it.
Blame R.L. Stine. Don't blame me.
Okay. Can we talk about R.L. Stine?
Yes, please.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, Cory, did you grow up reading R.L. Stine?
Yes, but I watched the TV series more. Like, I read a lot of the books, but I watched the TV series, like, religiously.
Oh, okay, cool. So that's the Haunting Hour show, right? Because this was the full-length movie, but there was like a
it was the Haunting Hour,
show, right?
But there was also, I don't know if this is the original Goosebumps TV show or not, but there was some form of Goosebumps TV show that really terrified me as a kid.
I want to say it was like the redo of it. I'm not 100% sure.
I think so, because I watched like the Goosebumps show when I was like 7 or 8.
It's
I know the show came out in like 2012 or 2013 or something like that.
It's
Maybe
whatever one has the
than that.
golden retriever in the theme song. All I remember is the golden retriever with like green eyes in the Goosebumps theme song.
Oh no, wait, that's the OG.
Okay,
that's the OG.
Then I guess I watched the original reruns of it. Maybe.
I mean, yeah, they were on. I can't remember what channel, but they were on a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So R.L. Stine was like my gateway.
Really?
One of my gateways. Well, because I loved Goosebumps and I really loved Fear Street. Like Fear Street was my shit, because I felt so badass reading Fear Street because it was gory and there was like teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
So my aunt is only 9 years older than me. So she's like my older sister. And so she would read Fear Street.
Ooh.
And so the Fear Street books, when she was done, would go up into my grandparents' attic. So then I would go up into the attic where no one could see me and read the Fear Street books in their attic and like scare the shit out of myself. But like that is like Fear Street. I had so many Goosebumps books, but like my strongest memories are reading Fear Street.
That's
and
awesome.
like feeling so cool reading these like gory, creepy books that were so much more than Goosebumps, in my head at least.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, R.L. Stine forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, Goosebumps was kind of my entry into horror literature as well, with the original run, because the original book came out in July of 1992, Welcome to Dead House. And I remember it was like 5th grade, and our teacher would read to us, and that was a book she chose. Everyone in the class loved it, and that was like there's horror books as well, because I had always just associated with horror with film.
Yeah.
I started like devouring them every time they would come out with a new one. Like it was the OG one. So it was Welcome to Dead House and Stay Out of the Basement and Monster Blood and Say Cheese and Die, like all these books. And he had like such a aggressive schedule that they were just constantly coming out. But I was of the age, so I missed Fear Street. And I went straight from Goosebumps to like Stephen King.
Wow, that's a jump.
So you with R.L. Stine, it was more the TV show, but you did read some of the books too. Is that correct, Cory?
I did. I mostly read like the books of the episodes that I liked, though. Like I usually knew the storyline already.
So I just remembered one of my favorite moments from Goosebumps, and I had to Google it because I couldn't remember. There's a book where this person is transported to another planet, and they look like people, but the one difference is they have mouths in their armpit, and they eat in their armpits. It's called Earth Geeks Must Go, and it's part of the Goosebumps series 2000. And for some reason, I think about that more often than I should, about these people who have to eat out of their armpits. And the kid who like appeared on the planet was like, thought he could blend in, but then he's like, fuck, I don't have armpit now.
Could you imagine like pitching that and being like, so everything's the same except this one thing?
Honestly, I fucking love it. Like, it's so stupid.
It's so random. Who came up with that? I love it.
Anyway.
But you know, what I do love with this conversation is, I mean, you know, I'm almost 40. Mary Beth, you're in your 20s. Cory, you are in your teen years. And yet we all have...
All of us are traumatized by Goosebumps.
By R.L. Stine, yeah. So I think that's amazing that this man has like traumatized generations of people and continues to do it.
It's true. It's true though. Like he is around. Like he's still writing. He's still relevant. Like
he really is like the kid Stephen King.
Yeah, he really is.
He is. He definitely is. And I love him.
Yeah, he's wonderful. Did you guys ever read The Headless Ghost Goosebumps? Because that was like the scariest one for me.
Headless Ghost.
I think I did.
There was like this boy that like was obsessed with strawberry ice cream in it, and like I can't look at strawberry ice cream without thinking about him, because the whole plot was these people went to this house and like they met these other kids that they thought were like normal kids, but they turned out to be ghosts that were like lying to them the entire time, and that freaked me out so bad.
I remember this cover, but
God.
I'm not...
I remember that vividly as like the scariest Goosebumps I ever read and watched.
The scariest one I saw was the when the mask gets stuck on the girl's face. Like I had a recurring nightmare. I had a recurring nightmare where that happened to me.
No, really?
Fucking Jesus. Oh yeah.
That's scary. That's really scary.
It's so funny.
I do remember this cover though.
Oh, and like I'm so sad that I got rid of mine when I was like grown up.
Yeah,
because
I
like,
did too.
I just want a shelf of all of them
all
again.
Goosebumps.
I just want all Goosebumps, and I'm so sad.
Yeah,
but maybe one day I'll just like buy them all, and it's got to be like relatively easy to buy them now. It's probably like a big investment, but
they have a lot of them at like thrift stores and stuff. There's like a place here that sells like almost all of them.
Ooh.
Yeah, if you're ever in Arizona.
What I did like about kind of going back to the creature of this,
it went off on a tangent
to
about
actually go back to this movie.
It's good. No, it's good. What fascinated me was like how many different movies this creature kind of pulled from, homaged, maybe ripped off a little bit, but like there's like you have like the egg sacs on the creature that are like pulsating. It reminded me of like the Gremlins, like the eggs kind of thing. When he's like walking by the bed, and especially the attack on the the Papa John's. Let's put a pin on that for a moment. But when he's attacking the Papa John's thing, it reminded me of like pulling from like Jurassic Park in the way like they would film like the raptors moving around and that kind of thing. And then the alien is, or the monster is leaving goo around like the alien monster, and he's wrapping people up in like cocoons that are. Yeah, and you mentioned the Thing, and I hadn't even thought about that, but yeah, he does kind of remind me a little bit of the Thing in the way it like splits and stuff. But when he wraps people up in like cocoons, it feels like a mix of like a spider web, but also there's like a lot of goo, so it's like alien, and he's cocooning them to feed them to his babies. Like there's a lot of
about like Killer Clowns from Outer Space with those like weird cocoon things.
Oh yeah.
So going back to the Papa John's moment,
Sorry.
I realized while I was watching this movie, and then I was like doing some like background research into it, that Papa John's did an advertisement campaign for this movie where like they would include a flyer with like this movie that's coming out on Cartoon Network, and I remember seeing it. Like I have this vivid memory of like, because I was looking at the poster, it's like, man, this poster looks so familiar, and then I saw the Papa John's, like, oh my god, I got that when I ordered a Papa John's pizza once.
Oh my god. I can't believe they advertised this. I can't believe they wanted to.
They did. They got like a prominent merchandise in the movie, and so then they were like advertising it. And I remember getting this like, what the fuck is this movie? It's on Cartoon Network, because of course it came out in 2007, so I was like 26 at the time. So I'm like, what is this crap? Give me my pizza.
Give me my pizza.
Well, I'm so glad you got to watch it now.
I know. It's like prophecy fulfilled. Here's the flyer. You watch it like, 13 years later?
Oh my god.
I do have some problems with the plot. I know.
Really?
I know. Okay. I completely understand that this is such a weird thing to focus on. But first of all, what is that mystery meat that is like sitting out through the entire movie?
Oh, the roast.
Oh, yeah, the roast.
It is so
that
red.
Weird
Why does it have
roast
so much
that
blood
just,
in it?
kept coming up?
Nothing has that much blood. Like that was too much.
That is what I want to talk about, because first of all, you're right. There's way too much of that red stuff for it to be like squished out into like fill out a jar. But two, that is not blood. It's not blood.
Yeah.
It is myoglobin. It is a mix of because when they ship meat and it's frozen, all of a sudden, like all of that mixes in with the protein and it makes the liquid look red. So that is not blood. So this whole thing is flawed from the very beginning, because that is not blood.
R.L. Stine, you need to rewrite this movie. It just doesn't work.
Oh, wait, is that okay? So I'm like very slow on this. So that's where she got the blood.
Yeah, they were squeezing it out of the meat.
I don't know why I didn't like. I was like, the fuck? Where the fuck did you get blood?
My favorite line, though, was when she was like, I know exactly where to get some blood.
I know. I was like, where is she getting this? Is she going to go, like, slaughter a pig? I mean, I wouldn't put it past her, but, like...
she would.
But, yeah, I was like, what? And then it's the fact that it's not... What they're cutting is not really blood, and that's what would bug me about this movie. And I realize that is ridiculous, but...
No, that's a good
here
point.
We are.
Just for anyone that's ever in this same situation, make sure you get real blood.
Get real blood, because that is not going to work like in the movies. You're going to need to go kill a pig.
I mean, if she can order cockroaches online, she could probably get blood.
That's a good point.
Where is she shopping? That's what I would like to know. Is it like some dark web of...
I'm sure she's on like some dark web.
No, you can buy cockroaches really easily online.
Good to know.
Oh, how do you know? How do you know this?
I know this because I used to have a pet bearded dragon, and it was really a pain in the ass to like have to go to a specialized pet store to get him.
Do they?
Yeah, when they get bigger, you have to feed them cockroaches.
Oh my god! Everyone in New York should own one. Everyone in an apartment.
Okay. See, you would think, but they can't eat those cockroaches because they're not supposed to eat like nasty, dirty ones where they don't know where they've been. It's weird. I don't really get it. I don't understand.
That like defeats the purpose then.
So you just had like boxes of cockroaches to feed?
Oh god.
Your bearded dragon?
That's like my worst nightmare.
Okay, look. I have nothing to say to defend myself.
You were taking care of your pet.
Yep, he just like ate cockroaches and it was gross because they were huge, but like you can order them online and it's not hard. So she probably ordered them from a pet store, because one time I ordered a box of 1,000 crickets, which is a fucking disaster.
1,000?
When he was a baby.
Yeah,
I know. Like having a lizard is hard.
It is. I had an iguana, so I'm only giving you a little bit of shit, but I never thought about feeding him cockroaches. We did have to feed him like mealworms and crickets. So I'm with you there, but.
My stepdad got him into the crickets or into the roaches, but it's because he was getting bigger, and it was like, it's probably better to like feed him these. Like my stepdad like researched it and was like, oh, he needs cockroaches. So we learned where to get cockroaches on the internet when we couldn't go to the specialized exotic pet store.
Well,
so
that's good to know.
So if you ever need to order cockroaches. Now you know it's not that difficult.
Put into a piñata for the pumpkin ball
at
Halloween.
Yeah. next pumpkin ball that y'all go to, and you're trying to get revenge on the Pumpkin Queen.
Yes.
Which,
Anyway.
okay, can we talk about how Priscilla's prank back to her is like
So lame.
terrible? It's so dumb.
I think with a name like Priscilla, though, like, you're setting yourself up for failure. Every villain in every kid's movie is named Priscilla.
It's true. And she's like, my dad's gonna get us a pink limo. I was like, why is every single girl villain like this? And I feel like, okay, I have a small rant to go on here.
All right.
This is why girls hate each other when they're in middle school and high school. These movies perpetuated this evil popular girl myth and made us all hate each other and perpetuated this internalized misogyny.
Yep.
And it's so sad. I know that I was bullied a lot by like the cool kids, but still, these movies did not help like the relationship between like nerds and other women.
No.
It was just, I was thinking about that. I was like, I know it's not that deep, but I have to talk about it because
it's a horrible stereotype. And it's also
it's horrible.
The only reason that like the mean girls are usually like that is because they're super feminine and super girly. So they're trying to like make us all hate ourselves and make ourselves like hate femininity itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is like where the I'm not like other girls comes from, and it's stupid.
Yeah.
I hang out with the boys. I'm
Oh
not
my
like
God,
other
yeah.
girls, which I fell into. Like I fell into that trap when I was in high school. Like it is a very real thing that really gets
Yeah.
into your head, and it's not great. It's not good for you.
It's awful.
I can attest to that. But it seems like there's a shift from that in a lot of these movies. It's just so interesting. It's like always girls versus girls, and like it's just not.
And then like the stupid jock boy who's just there, and he's allowed to be mean if he's nice at the end.
He is so Sean in this is so dumb.
He's so stupid.
He's
I
so
love
dumb.
it.
One of my favorite parts is when he's talking about the book he's reading, and she goes on about Edgar Allan Poe and like the tragic gothic romance figure. I'm like, what?
And she's like, he created the self-tortured protagonist as a horror convention, and his response is, I've never been to a horror convention. I'm like, girl, you deserve so much better than this dude. I get that he has that hair that everyone loved in 2007, but you can do so much better.
Literally.
Got that Bieber cut.
Oh god.
Okay,
Yeah.
also, his obsession with the shock pen. Like, he's so stupid.
It's
but my
so
favorite...
funny. I love that the shock
is
pen
when,
worked on the monster too.
That's my thing. He goes, shock pen! I absolutely love the dumb boys in these kinds of movies because they are so dumb, but they're so funny. They're beautiful comic relief, and it's like I just love. I'm trying to think of another one of like another guy like that in like kids horror movies that I've seen. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head, but it's just so funny when they're like, "I got it," shock pen, and like. There's such an interesting foil to like the cool girl character. It's like these persistent tropes of like nerd character, mean girl, and then the jock who likes both of them, and like he's caught in the middle of their revenge or like their rivalry, and it's so goofy.
It did kind of bother me that he went along with Priscilla for such a long time.
And then he just like, and then he was just like, we all forgave him at the end for no reason, just because he's stupid. Like.
Just because he's stupid. Oh my god. It's
stupid and beautiful.
Like, that's the thing. Those boys get away with anything.
Yeah.
It sucks to see that in like most movies, but like Jesus Christ. So he just got away with it because he's cute and has cute hair and smiles.
Mm-hmm.
And like
I do have a question because when I was looking up the actors in this movie, I saw that, correct me if I'm wrong, but Emily Osment and the guy that played Sean, Cody, were in Hannah Montana?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Did you watch Hannah Montana?
Oh my god. Did I? Yes. Every single day of my life for like 5 whole years. I watched that show so much.
I know nothing about Hannah Montana other than like my brother sang the songs like everybody makes mistakes, everybody has those days. Like my little brother, he's 9 years younger than me, and he loved Hannah Montana and would dance around singing that song all the time. And that's all I know about. Well, besides Smiley Cyrus and like the whole.
Oh my god, you never watched Hannah Montana?
I think I watched it like a couple of times with my brother, but like I don't remember.
It's like still funny now. It's still pretty good now. I'm not gonna lie, it holds up.
I don't even really know what it's about.
Okay, so she's a superstar, but like she wears a wig so no one knows that she's Miley and everyone thinks she's Hannah. So then she can like live a normal life, but she has to be in secret and like keep the secret from all her friends. So she's like a superhero, but she's a superstar. It's so good. And Billy Ray Cyrus is there and Dolly Parton plays her grandma and it is just such a good time.
Oh my god, wait,
really? I
Dolly
didn't know
Parton
that.
plays her grandma?
Yes. And Emily Osmond wears like 80 different wigs. It's so good.
It's all about music, that show, right? Did everyone sing on the
Yes.
show too, or was
Yeah.
it just her?
Well, mostly
Okay.
just Miley, but sometimes Emily Osmond would like do the backups because she was her best friend.
I was really surprised and really confused when we got to the end of this movie, and I thought we were gonna get like some like outtakes or something when the guy is like,
Emily Osmond, I don't think about it. Tape's rolling.
they're sitting at a booth and like, are we ready? Okay, let's go. And I was like, are we gonna get some outtakes from this? And all of a sudden, no, it's
I don't think about it. I don't think about it.
I didn't know who Emily Osment was, and so I'm like watching this going, why is she singing? What is happening at the end of this horror movie that we're having a music video?
You know, I asked that myself when I first saw it because she like never really had a music career. Like she wasn't a musician, so this was just something they made her do, I assume, for the movie. And they played this 24/7 on Disney Channel radio, and the music video, which is not a music video, it's just like a video of her in the studio, because I guess they didn't have a budget.
Soundstage.
It's so bad. Oh my
This
God.
movie just like is an onion of weirdness. It's
It's
so
so
funny. I'm
strange.
so glad you picked it though, because I feel like we haven't talked a lot about like those kinds of movies, like the kid young adult horror, and it is just so funny to see what those movies were like and like reflecting on them.
They're
because
so weird. This movie is so
they're
weird. I'm so sorry.
weird.
Don't apologize,
don't
please.
apologize.
The thing for me as an almost 40-year-old that I love is I love seeing what kind of kid-centric horror movies people watch throughout time. Because for me, like I was thinking back to in the 80s, and I would watch like, you know, Monster Squad, or I would watch like these kinds of films. And so I think it's fascinating to see how the movies change, how they sometimes get a little bit deveined, because like you would not see Monster Squad on Cartoon Network. Let's be honest.
I know, but I wish we would have. I only just
Yeah.
recently watched it this year, and it's so good.
It is so good. I mean, it did surprise me a little bit of like the casual homophobia, but like, I mean,
yeah.
80s, but it's what you have to deal with. But like, yeah, it is so good. And I'm always curious to see what kind of, what that looks like now in like 2000s and onward.
I will say, like, almost all 2000s kids movies were absolutely feral. Like, if you've ever seen Shark Boy and Lava Girl, that movie makes zero sense, and it's one of the best movies of all time, in my
That
opinion.
movie is feral. So is
so
Spy
strange.
Kids.
So Spy Kids, if you've ever seen the live action Cat in the Hat with Mike Myers,
Fuck that.
that is a horror movie, and I will die on that hill because it is so scary.
So I wanted to transition into that because I feel like, and please Terry, correct me if I'm wrong, there were not really like kids horror movies as often in like the 80s and the 90s. Like there obviously was like Watcher in the Woods, and there was Something Wicked that were like Disney movies, but there weren't a lot of like, there wasn't like a market for like young adult horror.
Well, there was for like the kind of like 13-year-old, like the young or the little bit older kids, because like you had Monster Squad, you had The Gate, you had like, I mean, even like Gremlins and whatnot were sort of like an E.T. So like you did have some of those, and like Poltergeist even for that matter.
See, but that shit's scary.
It is scary, but like that, I mean, those were PG movies. I mean, it's like
True. I guess because I'm thinking like there wasn't a Disney Channel. There wasn't like a Nickelodeon. So I feel like there weren't a lot of these like made for TV Halloween movies that would come out that were like specifically made for a very young audience, because like, but also like fear for a young audience has changed quite a bit.
Yes.
Because like The Gate and the Gremlins and E.T., like that shit's scary.
Yeah.
Well, not E.T. as much, except
E.T.
for
is
Cory.
pretty
Cory's
scary.
scary.
I'm sorry. He's so scary looking. I love him, and I think E.T.'s the greatest, but he's terrifying to look at.
Well, we talked about on our E.T. episode about, like, as a kid, I remember when E.T. is, like, running going, ah!
Oh
it
my
scared
God.
me as a kid. Like,
the sounds
just
he
the
made,
noise that he
too,
would
were
make.
so strange. Like,
But I do think that I mean, it's a valid point. Like I said, it never had cable. So, like, if it weren't for the fact that it was on one of the core channels, ABC or NBC or CBS, that kind of thing, like, there was nothing. And so Disney would sometimes put out Disney movies. You know, they put out Watch in the Woods and Something Wicked This Way Comes and that kind of stuff. But, like, a lot of the horror was either... It felt like it was made for, like, the kind of bridging the gap between being, like, a teenager and being an adult. You know
definitely.
what I mean?
Yeah.
What was there in the 90s? Because is that when
Hocus Pocus was released? I don't know.
Yeah.
Hocus Pocus was like 5? Was that 95?
Okay.
Am I?
Yeah.
I guess you
so,
could
like,
argue things like The Craft were for, like, teens at least, but not really younger kids.
93.
so, like, what I'm thinking about, I guess, is, like, Halloween Town, that are, like,
Yeah.
movies
Yeah.
that are, like, on the edge of horror, that have, like, those scary-ish moments, but they, like, are meant to, like, mostly entertain kids. And I guess you can kind of see that parallel between... You could make that connection between Disney movies like Watcher in the Woods, but that leaned right, like, full into fucking horror rather than these Disney movies now that are, like, that are sugar-coated. It feels like...
Yeah.
They've pulled back on the reins.
Well, just thinking about something like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which I guess isn't a horror movie, but it's scary as hell. Like,
Oh, I cannot wait for someone to come on the show and talk about that movie because it terrified
it's
me.
so scary.
Yeah.
And that, like you said, like, then there's the other weird movies like Cat in the Hat, that's like body horror.
That's, like, technically not horror, but
like,
that is one of the scariest movies I've seen to date.
Look,
I
it's
can't
fucking
believe
creepy.
that movie got made. I cannot.
Well, and, like, that actually makes me think about how, like, a lot of movies weren't necessarily scary, but they had, like, weird elements. Like, people just got fucking weird.
They were just,
and, like,
odd. Yeah.
Like you said, feral. Like, just weird. Like, did you ever get that movie Cats and Dogs, where the cats and
Oh
dogs
my
fought each
God,
other?
yes.
Like,
That was so weird.
that's the second time this is the second time that movie has come up on this podcast. But then, so, like, the more I'm talking, the more I'm realizing, like, there was Paranorman, but that was a little bit more recently, I guess. Like,
Paranorman, I was, like, too scared to watch as a kid. Like, I did not want to watch it.
it's so beautiful. Like, that's
really
Leica,
good.
right?
Really?
Leica. So, yeah,
It's
Leica's,
really good.
So I feel like there's this trend where it was like, oh, kids can't handle horror, but now it looks like, oh, actually, kids are pretty intelligent. It feels like like a weird roller coaster.
Yeah, but then they're making more for kids now and then not for teens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, like, we
Weird.
had Coraline, and Coraline was huge, and that's movie is
Coraline was
scary.
so good.
Coraline is
I loved
really
Coraline.
good.
Yeah.
Coraline is pretty scary. I was pretty
button
not
eyes.
old, but, like, I was older when I saw it, and I was like, ew, this is
Like,
kinda
if you're watching that
freaky.
as, like, an 8-year-old, like, yeah, you're gonna be scared.
And Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yes, definitely.
That was technically it was PG-13, but, like,
Harry Potter?
yeah, that's true. I guess the more we're talking about it, the more I'm realizing that, like, kids' horror was maybe marketed as less of horror. Rather
Yeah,
than,
I think the marketing
something
definitely
else.
changed it a lot.
Interesting. This makes me think a lot about horror movies and the ages they are geared towards.
Yes.
What's the last, like, good movie you saw, Cory, that was geared towards teenagers? If such a thing exists.
Freaky, I guess.
Yeah.
But before that, I don't know. Maybe The Visit? Like, before that, I don't know.
The Visit.
Okay.
The Visit, like, isn't a great example, but it's all we have. Besides,
I actually like The Visit.
maybe It. I liked The Visit. It wasn't scary. I expected it to be scarier.
Ugh, I did not like The Visit.
Really?
Really? It's found
fun.
footage.
Terry. I think I get really annoyed when the movies are marketed as, like, supernatural and it's like, the people were just crazy the whole time.
Oh,
Like, fuck
yeah.
off.
That bothered me.
that bothers me so
well, also,
much.
like,
with
that's not how, like,
movies.
sundowning works at all.
No. And anyway, but I digress.
That seems maybe a little ageist. I don't know, but
yeah, a little bit.
Maybe.
But anyway,
Yeah.
I should rewatch it. I've only seen it once. It's probably been a long time. It's been a long time, so maybe it's worth a revisit.
Well, you know, What's funny is that it stars the two actors that are in Better Watch Out, Mary Beth.
That's right.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's
Yep.
fucking right.
The best friend and the main character.
That's right.
They're
I forgot
brother
about
and sister in it.
Weird.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Random.
But I think like maybe it was probably the most popular, but like that was a reboot. It wasn't an original.
Okay.
You know?
So the movies that were like, I guess PG-13, because those are technically geared towards teens. So did like Happy Death Day work for you?
Happy Death Day
or-
worked for me, but not a single one of my friends enjoyed that movie, unfortunately. I really,
really?
like it,
Okay.
and I don't think they appreciated it enough, but they didn't like it.
Or like last year's Black Christmas?
No.
Okay.
I had to kick
Okay.
and scream to get my friends to see that, and they did not like it.
We had a
Gotcha.
really interesting talk with April Wolf about that and how people have no idea how to market to teenage girls. Like,
Literally zero clue.
No idea.
And they also don't know how to write for teenagers
No.
either. And I just wish that they would ask us, because like we're here, we're not doing anything. Obviously, we're not really working much or anything. All we have is school.
yeah, guys,
Right.
hello, please talk to teenagers when you're making movies for teenagers.
Yeah, if you're writing a script about teenagers, have teenagers read it,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
because then it just sounds awful if you don't. It sounds like you're like a 40-year-old trying to sound like a 10-year-old, and it's weird.
Hey, I'm hip.
Hello, fellow
I'm down
youths.
with it. Yeah. No. So one last thing before we start to like wrap up. Tobin Bell
Oh my god, yeah. Sorry, we
Shows up in this
we
movie.
need to talk about that.
We do. I was like, Tobin Bell is in this, and I was looking up the timing, and this was like around the time when Saw 4 comes out. So he is like on his way out of being like a main character in the Saw universe. And so, I mean, you know, you need a paycheck.
I mean,
I get it.
R.L. Stine, like any chance to work with him, I would take.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
And also, I had like a theory in my head, which, you know, obviously is just a theory, but it's like, it almost makes it feel like, oh, the parents will watch it because Tobin Bell is in this movie. You know what I mean? Like, because he had that name
Oh.
recognition from Saw. I was thinking about that at this time. Like,
Yeah.
he'd been in all the Saw movies, and I wonder if that was supposed to be like a marketing like draw for maybe parents or older audiences to be like, hey, look, there's this horror star in it. Also, maybe he just needed a paycheck. Like, honestly, it could be both.
Yeah. To me, it certainly felt like the directors like really knew horror movies well. Like, I don't know if you noticed, but there are a lot of little things like Max's dollhouse says Child's Play on it and stuff.
Ooh, I did not
there are a
see
lot of-
that.
Oh, I missed that.
There are a ton of like cute little references to horror movies, so it seems like they really pulled from a lot of them and wanted to reference horror movies as much as they could to make this like an introductory movie to horror, to like bring the next generation of horror fans into the genre.
I did notice that with when Sean is like, we need a bigger stick.
Yeah.
You know, obviously referencing like Jaws. So I did pick up on some of that, but I missed the Child's Play one.
That was like, I've watched it like 50 times. So, like,
Well, and what's funny is this director, Alex Zam, he
is like making Christmas movies now. Like,
yes, like it's so funny. So we just talked to Justin Dyke, who did Anything for Jackson, and he primarily did Christmas movies. And then I was looking up this director, and he's known for The Christmas Prince.
Yeah.
Like he's done so many Christmas movies, and it's so funny to see. Like,
so have the other writers for this besides R.L. Stine.
but that's so interesting because talking to Justin, he was saying that like it's a paycheck. Like people have such an appetite for those kinds of movies that like it's easy just to churn a bunch of them out. And I'm like, that is so fascinating how
Yeah, it's interesting.
filmmakers, even ones that love horror, he hasn't done like any other horror films, but obviously,
No.
like you guys have said, like he obviously has a love of horror, or like the writers had.
or at least like researched it a lot for this movie.
Yeah.
Because even the way it's directed and shot, you can tell like they definitely pulled from a lot of horror. And also, I don't know if you guys caught this is like not related, but the puppet in the window, like in the kitchen scene where she's going to like put something in a drawer and she walks back and the monster's like in the window. That scene got me every time as a kid. I knew it was coming and it still terrified me. I thought that was pretty good.
I must have missed that scene.
Yeah, these are just things I pick up on when I watch it like a million times.
Fair enough.
I mean, I get that because, like, you know, when I was a kid, I was obsessed with like Monster Squad and whatnot. So, like, you would watch it, and then pretty soon you are picking up like the stuff that's happening in the background because you've seen it so much that your eyes are constantly like wandering. So that makes perfect sense to me.
No, for sure. So, do we want to give this movie a rating out of 5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terry, how many Tobin Bell's Fabulous Wigs out of 5 do we give R.L. Stine's The Haunting Hour? Don't think about it.
Well, I will say that Tobin Bell did have a fabulous wig.
He really did have a
I
fabulous
was like, I was going, oh my God, I was gagging. I was gagged. I was like, wow. And okay, this movie was not for me. I'll be perfectly honest. I can appreciate what it was doing. I appreciate that it is like that kind of kinder trauma and that like bridge gap between getting kids into horror. And I think that's really important. So I think the importance of this kind of thing and the fact that there are stuff like Halloween Town, I think that's one, isn't it?
Yes.
And like
you should watch Halloween Town if you haven't seen it. It's so good.
Is it?
I don't.
Is it really?
It really is. It's like really cute.
I don't know if Terry would enjoy it.
Okay. Well, I think it's fun.
I don't know. It is fun. I enjoy Halloween Town.
Yeah. You have to like actually get into the story, but
okay.
It's
Who knows?
like,
maybe for a little cut, I'll watch it.
It's like Harry Potter, but if Harry Potter took place in Halloween all the time.
I mean, that sounds pretty cool. Yeah. So so this movie, it was not for me. I don't like dogging on it because it is. I'm not the target audience for it. But for me personally, it would only be 2 Tobin Bell's Fabulous Wigs out of 5 for me. What about you, Mary Beth?
So this movie brought me very much back to when I was a young teenager who loved shit like this, who was trying to access horror however she could. So there's like a lot of nostalgia, and I really enjoyed watching it. I mean, thinking about it deeply, about like the pacing and how it's made, and the use of the R slur at one point, which was quite weird. Shocking. That was weird. I am gonna give it 2.5 Fabulous Wigs, but I will say I enjoyed it a lot more than Terry. Mostly because it was like very much, like I said, nostalgic for what I loved to watch as a child.
Mm-hmm.
So it was fun. It was very fun for me.
It's fun. It's not necessarily good.
It is fun.
But it's fun.
Yeah.
Well, and I am glad that you brought this because like I do like being able to see what the kind of trajectory that the kids' horror has taken. So I think
it says a lot about kids that grew up in the 2000s. I think it just explains a lot.
It definitely does. So Cory, you have the final word. How many Tobin Bell's Fabulous Wigs out of 5 do you give? Don't think about it.
Well, I mean, as I've seen this movie hundreds of times, I think I'm going to give it a 4, but only because it's for kids, and I think it does a very good job of making it just terrifying enough for children. And also, Tobin Bell's character is like perfect. Like, that's a great character for him.
He has the saw voice. He does the saw voice.
He does do the saw voice.
Children.
Going back to Tobin for a moment, I did love the fact that this character is a trope that we have seen in kids horror before, because we saw the sort of like tempter figure in like something wicked this way comes, and the character of like that sort of you want to do this pushing people is also in like Needful Things with Stephen King. So like it's a horror trope, and I did appreciate that they were using it in such a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I agree.
Well, thank you so much, Cory, for joining us
to talk about.
Me.
Thank you for watching this insane movie.
I like I said,
I loved it.
I am glad that we did.
So glad.
I'm glad that we did get to see The Haunting Hour. Don't think about it, and I'm glad we had you to kind of take me on like this journey through an alien time period where I have no concept of. So I really do appreciate that. Where can our listeners find you, and what do you have coming up you'd like to share?
You can find me on my blog, gorycory.com, and Twitter and Instagram at gorycoryhorror and at _gorycory_. And coming up, I have a podcast on Anatomy of a Scream called The Scream Teens.
Excited for that.
Thank you. Me too.
Keep an eye out, everyone, for that announcement. It'll be very exciting.
Yes.
So listeners, you've heard from us, but we want to hear from you. Have you ever seen R.L. Stine's The Haunting Hour? Don't think about it. So, and if you haven't, what were some of the movies that scared you as a kid that maybe were more like kids horror? We want to hear from some of the younger listeners too, because, I know a lot of these 80s horrors scared us, but what about things like this? You can send us an email at scarredforlifepodcast@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us directly on Twitter. I am at MB McAndrews.
And I'm at Gaily Dreadful.
Of course, don't forget to follow the podcast on Twitter at Scarred Podcast.
And don't forget to review, rate, and subscribe.
Thank you to Steve Barnold for our artwork. Thank you to Sean Keller for our music. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Stay safe out there, but most importantly, stay creepy.
And until next time.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What is The Briefing Room? It's a behind-the-scenes look at how the criminal justice system works and the lives of the people within that system.
If you love true crime, well, these are the real people who do the job every day of making sure justice is served.
Hi, I'm Detective Dave.
I'm Detective Dan. Together, we have decades of experience in local law enforcement, a profession that we think is often misunderstood.
So we're going to explore how to do it right, and we won't shy away from when it's done wrong. These are stories you'll hear nowhere else. Unique, frank, and unvarnished.
From the team that brought you Small Town Dicks, this is The Briefing Room. Episode 1 drops on August 30th.
We'll meet you in the briefing room.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.